Rabotai, we're here on Daf Lamed Hey Amid Aleph in Masechet Yoma, and yesterday we had a very strange analysis of the name Parva, which seems to be the name of a sorcerer. We had a discussion about the Sudden Shalbutz, which was used as a linen curtain to afford privacy and tznius for the Kohen Gadol when he would be tovel 5 times over the course of Yom Kippur. And there was a discussion of why it has to be linen, to remind him that the Avodas Hayom is with linen garments, the big day Lavan. And we were wondering why we have to remind him. It seems so obvious. And especially in the 4 Tvilos where he's being tovel in order to put in the big day pot. Then he spoke about the arithmetic calculation that the Mishnah makes of the money spent for the big day lovin of the morning service and the big day lovin of the afternoon service. 18 for the morning, 12 for the afternoon, and the total, says the Mishnah, is 30. And the Gemara was perplexed why the Mishnah had to bother adding for us 18 and 12. Minyana Mai. And the Gemara was machadech that it doesn't have to be 18 and 12. It's not engraved in stone. He can subtract a little from one set of begadim and add a little bit to the other set of begadim, as long as he fulfills the condition that he buys, so all told, signs a check for 30 mana. And we had a number of different shitos as to whether or not he can detract and diminish from the morning begadim for the sake of a beautiful set of more expensive afternoon, the other way around, which is more significant. And now we're up to the Kule Alma Mios. So if you're on Lamed Heyam and Aleph, you are going to count up 3 lines before the end of the And the Gemara is pointing out that no matter which way you add up to get to 30, and you shift it this way or you shift it that way, but one thing is clear and undeniable, and that is the Shachar Adife, that there's a special chashivus to the begadim that he wears in the morning, and therefore it's priced at 18, whereas in comparison to the big day lovin of the afternoon, which are only priced at 12. And that's the ideal way that he purchases the big day lovin, indicating that the begadim of the morning are more significant than the begadim in the afternoon. Now, ostensibly, the reason for that is because in the morning avoda, he's going to wear his big day bad as he enters into the Kodesh Kedoshim to do the avoda of the Ketores. He's going to take the gecholim that are in a machta held in his right hand, and he's going to take the kaf of Ketores held in his left hand, pour the Ketores, the contents, into the gecholim, and send to Shemayim this pillar of smoke. That's the Ikar Avoda in the Kodesh Kedoshim once a year, which is described in the parsha that we'll read in Mitzvah day after tomorrow. In the afternoon, he goes back into the Kodesh Kedoshim with his big day Lavan in order to remove the Kafo Machta. That's a secondary, relatively secondary Avoda. So the Gemara says, Minola, the Gemara says that I'm not so convinced that the avoda of Hotzas Kafu Machta should be relegated to a secondary position. Do you have a source for this from which we derive that the big day Lovin Shel Shachris should be more expensive than those of the big day Lavan of Arvis. Amar Rav Huda, brother of Eloi, Amar Kra, the pasuk tells us, and this is the pasuk here in Parshas Achremos that addresses Levishas big day Lavan. We're talking specifically about Shachris now, and it says Bad 4 times in the same pasuk. And I'll read to you the whole pasuk. The Gemara only quotes the word Bad times 4. It says, Ksones Bad Kodesh Yilbash, Umichnesei Bad Yual Bisaro, the Avne Bad Yachkar, that's number 3, Ubimitznefes Bad Yitznov, that's number 4. And then the pasuk says, Big Day Kodesh Hem V'rachatz B'mayim Es Bisaro Ulevei Shor. From the fact that the Torah repeats the word Bad 4 times, all of which refer to the big day Lavan that are worn by the Kohen Gadol in Chakris, the Chachamim derive the conclusion that Muvchar Shebebad, that Lechatchila the mitzvah is that the Kohen Gadol, when he wears the big day Lavan of the morning, he should have Muvchar Shebebad, the best linen that you could that money could possibly buy. Now, I have a very important footnote here in the Masechet. Why is it that the Torah feels a necessity to repeat the word Bad no less than 4 times? You want to emphasize and transmit the message that the Bad should be expensive. Tell me Bad twice. Why 4 times? Is there a way of splitting these 4 Bads down to 4? He says the first time it says the word Bad, that teaches me the din of Big Day Pishtan, that the Kohen Gadol, when he does the special avodah of Yom Kippur, he has to wear linen garments. Ham Shniya, the second time it says the word Bad, is Kedei Lidroch Shehu Kiloshon Levad. We darshan the word Bad as if it said Levad, which means that he doesn't wear Big Day Zav at all. Levad means wear linen garments and omit any gold garments, which of course on the big day Zav that the Kohen Gadol wears 364 out of 365 days of the year. And here it says Bad and only Bad. Bad Levad. Don't even dream of adding to the big day Zav. And then the third time is Kedei Lamdenu Shabbat Zeh Sarach Lios Tov Yoseh. Now we're elevating the special quality of this linen that's going to be used for the big day Lavan of the Kohen Gadol, in contrast to the big day kahuna that are made of linen and used the entire year. Uparavias, to teach us that the bad of the Begadim of Shachris have to be of a superior quality vis-a-vis the bad of the big day Arvis. Efshar, he says, Shakpod al kach, Shaschum kolel shel big day Lavan yeh shloshim mana. He asks, okay, you've now established that the big day bad of the morning avoda has to be muvchar shebebad, and that was the derivation of the 4th bad. But how do you know that the total sum of money being spent for all the begadim, meaning the big day Lavan of morning, and is 30 mana? You can't derive that from the word bad. He says, Efshar du halacha leMoshe misina. Very interesting that there was halacha that Moshe got at Sinai that he transmitted through the generations of exactly the minimum amount of money that has to be spent on the finest linens that have to be imported from the world in order to create the big day bad. That's how meticulous the Torah was about the big day Lavan of the Kohen Gadol. Some say, by the way, I don't know if it's true, that the reason why we wear a kittel on Yom Kippurim is zecher to the big day Lavan, the big day bad of the Kohen Gadol. I'll be honest with you, I don't treat my kittel in that way. I don't know, I'll have to ask my wife exactly what she paid for the kittel, but I don't know if I would guess 100 shekel, I think I'd be overshooting it. And nowhere near, 30 mana. But miloshen HaPasuk, Midrash, sheyesh laso shel shachris yakar yoser mibein arba'im. So that which we can derive from the pasuk, insofar as these bads over 4 times are addressing the bad of shachris, is that the bad of shachris has to be of a superior quality vis-a-vis the bad of bein arba'im. But to derive the conclusion exactly how much money you should be spending for this bad, that you can't derive from the psukim. That's got to be Allah Moshe. And now we turn to Daf Lamed Hey Amid Beis. They say we're going to now study a nevuah of Yechezkel HaNavi. Now, Yechezkel HaNavi prophesizes about the structure of the third Beis Hamikdash. But within the nevuah, he embellishes it and he describes details about the avoda of the Kohen. And there are very strange things about Yechezkel's nevuah. But in any event, one thing that's important to us is that he tells us that after the avoda in the Kodesh Kodashim, and I quote from Yechezkel Perek Mem Daled, "Ubetzeisam el hachatzer achitzona, el hachatzer achitzona el ha'am, yifshetu es bigdeihem, asher hema misharsin bam, v'nichu osam b'lishkas hakodesh, v'lovshu b'gadim acherim, v'lo yikadshu es ha'am b'bigdeihem." Now, this last piece in the closure of the pasuk, "V'lo yikadshu es ha'am b'bigdeihem," this has to do with what takes place after the Kohen Gadol finishes his avodah of Yom Kippurim, and Yechezkel tells us that no one who supplies those begadim for the Kohen Gadol should be magdish the begadim. The Kohen Gadol, when he finishes the avodah, he's ready to go home, he wears bigdei chol. So don't be magdish those begadim. V'haya Vivoam el sharei achatzer apnimis. This is all Yechezkel's nevuah. Bigdei pishtim yilbishu. It's interesting that Yechezkel uses the plural. He's referring to all Kohanim Gedolim throughout the generations, and they should be wearing bigdei pishtim. V'lo yala aleim tzemer b'sharsam b'sharei achatzer apnimis ubeisa. So that they're not wearing any wool in their begadim, it's pure linen. Ha'ari pishtan yu al b'sarim, michasei pishtan yu al masnehem, lo yachkeru beza, ubitzeisam el ha'chatzer achitzona, el ha'am, yifshetu es bigdeim asher heim esharsim bam, V'nichu osam bilishkos or l'shakos hakodesh v'lovshu b'gadim acherim v'lo yikadshu es ha'om b'bigdei. Rashi here says that these psukim that deal with the avodas Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippurim, v'haya bevoam el shara chotza pnimis bigdei pishtan yilbishu v'lo yala leim tsemer. These words can only be applicable to Yom Kippurim when the Kohen Gadol doesn't wear his me'il made with tcheles, because tcheles is tsemer, is wool. In other words, the dye, the color that we dye tsemer, which is called tcheles, is tsemer. It's got to be tcheles v'tsemer. We have wool that is dyed in the color of tcheles. And now you can have the following question: how could Yechezkel HaNavi say that lo yala leim tzemer when the tcheles of the Big Day Kahuna was made of tzemer, or I should say made of tzemer, but it was dyed, and the wool was dyed tcheles? And the answer has to be that although the Kohen Gadol wears tzemer the entire year, but on Yom Kippurim, the Torah, Yechezkel says, Lo Yala Aleim Tzemer. Now, after the Avodah, the Kodesh Kadoshim, the Kohen Gadol says Yechezkel goes out to the Chatzar Chitzona, El Ha'am, and Shamu Poshet Es Habgadim Sheshires Bahem Umenicham Belishkos HaKodesh V'Eno Mishtamish Ben Od. Then V'Lovash B'Gadim Acherim, when he goes the second way around and he enters into the Kodesh Kadoshim, Yilbash Gadim Acherim Be'elu Shalovash B'Knisas HaRishon. So that the emphasis here in the pasuk that the Gemara quotes from Yechezkel is Gadim Acherim. He's got to put on different Gadim when he goes back into the Kodesh Kadoshim, Lahotzi es Hakafu Machta, okay. Now the Gemara assumes that the word Acherim indicates an upgrade, not a downgrade, but an upgrade. In fact, the Gemara, my love, Acherim chashuvim mehem. When Yechezkel HaNavi says that he leaves the Kodesh Kadoshim and he takes off his Gadim and he puts them in the Lishkas HaKodesh, then the Lavash Gadim Acherim, and he's got to go back into the Kodesh Kadoshim. Acherim means an upgrade. Not the way we saw in our Mishnah, that the Gadim that the Kohen Gadol wears in Shacharis are more chashuv, they're more expensive, higher quality than the Gadim that he wears Bein Arbayim. Here it's called Gadim Acherim. And Gadim Acherim means that it's of a superior quality. You know, this reminds me again, I don't mean to compare it, but there's a principle in Hilchot Shabbos called Kvod Hayom Adif. So if you have two suits to wear, and you want to wear one Friday night and the other Shabbos, you should take the better suit for Shabbos. That's the Acherim, because Kvod Hayom Adif. Here the Acherim is the second time he goes into the Kodesh Kadosh. And the Acherim require an upgrade. Says Gemara Lo. That's not the true, accurate interpretation of the word Acherim. Acherim means pchusim. The other clothes, the other set of garden made of pishtan. The inferior set. And it means that you spend more money for the great quality of the morning Big Day Love than you do for the afternoon Big Day Love. Now, what we're about to embark upon, Steve, is a sugya that you had made reference to about a mother who creates begodim for her son, who's the Kohen Gadol. But before that, I wanted to share with you a kasha here of the Tosas Yeshanim. And it's published on the left bottom. He says, Harei pasuk zeh, this pasuk of Yechezkel, remember al Yitzias HaKohen Gadol me haktoris v'azos hadam v'kosh kedashim, the oz hu achen machluf big day lom u'big day zov l'tzorach hakrovas musfei hayom u'big day zov elu bevadei chashuvim yoser mi big day lom. I don't get it, he says. When it says v'lom should be begodim acherim, he's not talking about the Kohen Gadol going back into the Kodesh Kodashim with Big Day Lavan. He's talking about taking off the Big Day Lavan when he completes the avoda in the Kodesh Kodashim and putting on Big Day Zav for the purpose of continuing the Karban Musaf in the day. Well, guess what? The word acherim really means of a superior quality, because gold is superior to Pishtan, to even the finest linen. So why does the Gemara assume that based on Yechezkel and Navi, the second set of Big Day Lavan that the Kohen Gadol dons when he does the second round avoda in the of the Ketaris and the Mikdash, that he should wear an upgraded Big Day Lavan? That's not so. What the pasuk means is that when he changes his garden to Big Day Zav, then he has to upgrade it to Begodim Acher, to more superior Begodim. Beautiful kash. So he answers, Mashma miloshen hapasuk shekol habegodim shemachlif bi osu hayom yiu begodim quote unquote acherim. In other words, the word acherim here and the lovshu that comes before it is referring to all the begodim that he's going to wear subsequently for the entire balance of the day, including the Big Day Lavan that he's going to wear when he goes into the Kodesh Kodashim for the second round. The Ein Lomer, and don't say, Sheva Big Day Lavan, Eino Tzarech Shiyu Chashuvim Yoser. Don't assume that the word Acherim means other begodim, like Big Day Zav, but not the same begodim. Shemistaber shekol hachlofos habegodim shavos. Ukshem she'achlofa mi-Big Day Lavan le-Big Day Zav hi-achlofa of an upgrade le-begodim chashuvim yosei. Kein hachlofa mi-Big Day Zav le-Big Day Lavan hashneim. He hachlofa le-begodim chashuvim yoser than the Big Day Lavan that he wore in the morning. Rav Huda bar Yehuda, the Amrile, Rav Shmuel bar Yehuda, Achar shekolsa avodas tzibur. After the Kohen Gadol finishes the kapara for the tzibur, meaning the ketores, and azos hadam the kodesh kadoshim Kohen sha'asa solo imo ketones. Love the Oved Ba Avodas Yachid. Avodas Yachid means that there's no kapara on behalf of the tzibur, but for individuals. like for example, the Kohen Gadol has to bring his par or his aisle. So those are avodas yochid. Even hotzas kafu machta from the Kodesh Kodashim is considered avodas yochid because it doesn't contain a kapara of the tzibur. Now the Gemara is under the impression that there's got to be some chidush here in the words of Rav Huna and the brisa that he quotes, or the member that he quotes from Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda. So what's the chiddush here that the Kohen Gadol is allowed to wear a ketones that was manufactured by his mother? She could take this ketones and be moser it with tzibur. This reminds me of a lot of the sugyas that we saw in Shkolim, that you can dedicate money for the sake of the tzibur, and that money is now purchasing, can use to purchase things on behalf of the tzibur. So that the big day kahuna, even though in this particular scenario the mother manufactured the ketones from her own money, but nevertheless she gives it over to the tzibur as an outright all-inclusive gift, yafa yafa. And therefore, pshita, that once the big day kahuna, in this case, the ketones that was manufactured, is given over to the tzibur, for sure, the Kohen Gadol is allowed to wear those garments. They have the same exact identical status as any big day kahuna. So, what exactly is the answer to the question, pshita? What is Rav Shmuel coming to teach me that I wouldn't know? Ma'od Tema, says the Gemara. You know what? It's hard for her, after she put in so much work to create these gadim, to part with it and to give them to the rishus of the tzibur. Yafa yafa means belev sholem. And in an event that she wasn't moser this begging to the tzibur for a full-fledged transmission of ownership, transaction, then guess what? These are not big day kahuna, and the Kohen Gadol cannot do the avodah. From Mashmalan, Reb Shmuel is teaching me that we don't have to be choshesh. We can rely on the mother of the Kohen Gadol, that she is transferring ownership over these gadim, over the ketones, to the tzibur with a leiv shalom yafi yaf. She's not retaining any partnership, any ownership in the gadim, and now the Kohen has received from the rishus of the tzibur a ketones that belongs to the tzibur, and he can wear it during shas avodah. So that, I believe, is the end of the sugya here. Oh, so, okay, we heard the maskana. We're going to rely on the mother. She's going to give it over to the tzibur. Yafa yafa. But why shouldn't we be choshesh? And here he quotes the Mishnah in the fourth parak of Shkol. The Chachamim say, with regard to the case of Shomrei Svichim, that we're always afraid that maybe lo yimso l'tzibur b'leiv sholem. So he answers that the din of big day kahuna is different. Even shedavar barusha kohen gadol b'torah, as the pasuk says, "Va kohen hagadol mi'echov." He knows that yesh limsar es habgadim l'tzibur b'leiv sholem. He's very much aware of this requirement. Gam mishum shekol kvod hakahuna hu kvod kohen gadol l'chein moso b'leiv sholem. What does this mean? That we appreciate those who bring kapara on our behalf, and we express that appreciation by giving whatever funds are necessary for that kohen to do the avodah and bring the korban that's mechaper. So the tzibur, any member of the tzibur that contributes towards whatever finances are necessary to facilitate the ability of the Kohen Gadol to do the avodah, that person is so overwhelmed by gratitude that they do it sincerely, yafa, without any limitations and without holding back at all. Okay, then I both say this is where we're going to stop for today. Let's make a note of where we got up to. Here on the top of Daf Lamed Hamid Beis, about 10 lines down from the top, Amru Olav al Rabbi Shimon. Okay, then. So let me take this opportunity to wish everyone a great Shabbos, and Mr. Shem will pick it up. I'm excited about getting my feet weight of menachos, because one time in my life I tried to learn menachos. It was like too tough. I didn't have the back. If you're not oriented, it's really tough. All right, call to. Thank you so much.